So in less than 2 weeks from the time that I am recording this video, I will be becoming a legitimate deaf bilateral cyborg. I am going in to get my second cochlear implant. I currently have one on my left side. I'm going in to get one on my right side. So today I want to talk about what I'm kind of struggling with emotionally as I approach this surgery. I mean, I know practically what to expect, but there are some things I'm emotionally struggling with as I approach this surgery date, and I want to share because maybe you're having the same struggles, and maybe we can just get through this together. So the first thing I'm definitely struggling with is just general health anxiety. And this is something that unfortunately I have developed as a result of having several medical issues over the past few years. I mean, even though I know the surgery, I've had it, I'm still having anxiety as I approach it. The only thing I've really found that works for me is I just have to stay busy. I have to make sure that my life is bigger than my health anxiety. Now, the next thing I'm really struggling with emotionally is just I feel like I'm giving up the last 10% of me as I approach this surgery. Let me explain. I'm guessing that I probably have about 10% of my hearing left in this second year, but the 10% that's left is completely destroyed and distorted. And I actually told my surgeon, don't worry about preserving my natural hearing. I actually need it to be gone so that my implants can have the best shot at working without being distracted by that distortion. And after my first surgery, from what I can tell, all of my natural hearing really is gone in that ear. And I'm kind of hoping in a weird way for that to happen again with my second ear. But the funny thing is, I'm still struggling emotionally with losing that last 10% of hearing. I guess as someone who was obsessed with music at the age of 2, and continued from there on throughout her life to have her world revolve around music and her ears. Someone like me, that part of me, the hearing part of me, has been the most important part of my life. Now, I'm not saying that's healthy, but I am saying I spent most of my life with my ears being really tied into my identity. My ears were really what made me me. And so I feel like after this surgery, I'm losing that last 10% of me. Now, I know the right answer. I know, and I've been working, trust me, I have a good therapist. I've been working to really redefine my identity without music. And really being willing to give up this last 10% is really just an act of true surrender and letting go of this old way of life and being willing to accept something new. And, I think in my head about a couple of conversations I would have, like if I were talking to my ears, as we get ready to officially hang them up, I would say, you know what? Great job. You kicked butt for 50 plus years. You did awesome. Great job. And there's that positive aspect. But, I think about if I were talking to that little kid inside me who was obsessed with the piano ever since the age of 2, I think I would want to remind that kid, you're not going to be forgotten. That's something I've really struggled with, is feeling like I'm not seen anymore since I don't really have that musical skill or capability. I would encourage that little kid that she is much more than just a musical talent, and there are many more things about her that are valuable. And I would say that to you, if you're struggling with the idea of really losing your hearing completely with this surgery, and being willing to let go, understand that if that was something that was tied into a skill you had or a job you had or a hobby, understand that there is something more valuable in there. Now, you may wonder what that is today, right? And you may be on a journey to rediscover that and really embrace that. I still am, but I know it's in there. And I know I'm just on the part of the journey yet where I'm letting go. And I can't be ready to embrace that new way of living until I let go of this. And the third thing I'm really struggling with is as I get this surgery, I feel like I'm still really struggling with accepting this as a part of my story. Yes, I understand I'm choosing this surgery. No one's forcing me to have this surgery. And I can maybe hear a commenter now who's like, why are you complaining? This surgery is going to be great and you should be thankful that you get to have this surgery. And I understand. But I do feel like taking this step is like one last invisible kind of push along a storyline that I didn't want to be in. I didn't want to become deaf. I didn't want to lose my hearing. I didn't want to lose my critical ability to work with music in a technical capacity. I didn't want any of this. And I feel like by having this surgery, it's like the final little push into a chapter of this story where I am deaf and I have to rely on bionics to hear. And that is going to limit some things for me that, I grew up for half of my life with that not being a thing. And I understand that that's a negative spin, right? The positive spin is you should be thankful and embrace this new way of living and move on to the next chapter. And I will get there. I'm going to get there. But today, this is where I'm at. I'm just struggling with it. I am thankful, and I'm extremely thankful this technology exists. The number one priority is just to be able to hear speech and communicate. I understand that. I'm thankful I'm going to have that. And I know I will get to a place where I am accepting of being on this timeline, even though I still think it might be the worst timeline. But I know I'm going to get to the place where I accept it. I think, I'm just 2 years kind of into this journey as far as when I started to go deaf. And, my therapist is reminding me that you live your life a whole way, 50 plus years. You're not just going to find a new way to do things in a couple of years' time. It's going to take some time. And I'm just at the part in the story where it's still kind of a big question mark. I don't know what my next thing is going to be, my next big thing that I'm going to really love and be into. Could it still be music? Again, maybe. I have still found myself in a place today where that's not been something that I've still have really wanted to gravitate back to, although I have certainly tried. So anyway, these are the things that are running through my brain as I race towards this surgery date that is approaching very quickly. I will certainly be posting on here how that goes. I don't know how soon after my surgery I'll be up for that, but I will try to post as soon as I can and let you know how I'm doing. I'll at least put a picture up on the day of and let you know that things went well. Anyway, let me know if you're emotionally struggling with the surgery, even if it's your first implant, not necessarily if you're going bilateral. I know we're more rare, but just let me know how you're doing. Again, I think there's lots of videos on YouTube that talk about what to expect from surgery, and here's all the practical things, and I've certainly done videos like that. But one of the things I'm passionate about on this channel is there's not enough talk about what happens emotionally and mentally with hearing loss and with getting things like cochlear implants. And so this is just where I am on my emotional journey, and I'm sure I'm not alone. And that's why I want to share this today. Please know I understand. You are not alone. This is a big deal. Contemplating the surgery is a big deal. It is a big emotional deal. And you have to give yourself time and space to feel all the things, and don't minimize it. It's a very, very big deal. Sure, it might be a 90-minute outpatient surgery. That doesn't mean it's not a big deal. So talk to me in the comments. Let me know how you're doing.